All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. I'm going to do another movie chat today with two of my regular movie chat friends, Chris, aka Tubin, and Dusty, aka Woke Centrist, aka Vampiric Centrist. And that's apt, of course, because we're talking about Blade, the awesome 1997 movie with starring Wesley Snipes in undeniably his best role ever as Blade, the hybrid human slash vampire hunter who is helped by Whistler, this old grizzled white guy who is also a vampire hunter and trained him to be a vampire hunter, and this woman who gets attacked by Quinn, a vampire that Blade was hunting, who basically Blade saves her, and then she gets involved with helping him fight the vampires. And that's kind of, and then of course, I guess just to finish off with the basic premise of this movie, of course, also Frost is a very important character because he's one of the vampire nobles, but he's like the only non-pure blood vampire who was born as a vampire in this like council of who is in like meetings with this council of elders of the vampires, and he's secretly trying to enact this conspiracy to resurrect a vampire god. So there's all sorts of really awesome stuff happening in the movie, and then of course the best parts are like just Wesley Snipes kicking ass and slaying vampires with all of his awesome weapons, like his swords and guns, and his sword and guns and stuff like that. So yeah, to start off with, how about you go first, Chris? Say like what you like most about this movie, and like what some of your favorite parts of it are.
Yeah, yeah, checks a lot of the boxes for me as far as like an action movie that you want. Steven Dorff is a really good evil villain, and I kind of miss him. I rewatched it recently, and I was kind of thinking to myself, whatever happened to that guy?
Yeah, the only thing I've ever seen him in other than Blade is he's in the newest season 3 of True Detective, and you can see that how much older he is in that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
he was in. I think he was he was in a bunch of movies in that time. Lost Boys, I believe, and yeah. But yeah, it's Blade is like, it's a good movie, but it's not like, I don't know. It's not a home run for me. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like my favorite action movie. But
how do you rate it among vampire movies specifically?
Like, I want to give it a 6 or 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere in that range. Like, it's good. I enjoy it. I can rewatch it again.
How does it compare to From Dusk Till Dawn, which is the only other vampire movie we talked about so far? Oh, Dusty got kicked out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Dusk Till Dawn, I think, was a lot better than this, but I don't know. There's more like, not gore, but there's more. I don't know. There's something about Dusk Till Dawn as a storyline holds up a little bit more than Blade. And not knocking on Blade. I think like Blade is still a good film. It's just not like, yeah. I think I think he was better in Demolition Man, to be honest, Snipes. But
Wesley Snipes,
yeah. But that's not like really a vampire movie. I know it, but yeah,
that is an awesome movie. Yeah,
fight scenes were cool though, and yeah, the overall storyline is decent. I just yeah, it's not like yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good film. It's just not like one of my favorites, I guess I would say. I don't know.
I see. Yeah, but like for me personally, it's probably like I might have said this before when we talked about From Dusk Till Dawn, but I would say Blade and From Dusk Till Dawn are my two favorite vampire movies. I have trouble choosing between like which one I would like better, because like you were kind of saying, they're they're different in some ways. Like Quentin Tarantino is he's the best at writing characters, but they're also like totally different types of characters in this movie, and it's mostly more of a serious movie. Like there isn't any like deliberately over the top violence and stuff like that, like there is pretty much as a standard in a Robert Rodriguez movie. But I like all this. I like all this stuff about trying to resurrect a vampire god, and some of the CG in this movie did really does not hold up. But I like all of Blade's weapons and the way he kills vampires, and this and the stuff about what's her name, Karen Jensen, who he decides to save after Quinn attacks her, and then this kind of like rivalry between Blade and Quinn, and like Dusty was talking about before, that opening club scene where you first see Blade and he's killing all those vampires. Like basically Blade versus the vampires is pretty much the main appeal of this movie, which is pretty awesome. 100%. And I love all the sword fighting too.
Yeah,
sword
and that's
awesome.
what makes the movie hold up, is definitely the fight scenes and the action. And there's good acting in it as well, like Stephen Dorff. Kris Kristofferson also as the sidekick is good as well. For sure. It's a good film. Not to get sidetracked, but what did you think of like Interview with a Vampire as a vampire film?
Oh, that's kind of one of my least favorites, actually. I do like it, but I just like I like kind of the more like action style, like vampire slaying movies like Blade and like From Dusk Till Dawn. But it is interesting in a different way in that it's told more from the perspective of what it's actually like to be a vampire. So I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I see. When it comes to vampires, not vampires were real, but vampires were kind of a thing. Like there was a place called Transylvania, there was castles, there was people that, in the mid-centuries had these
Wallachia, man.
Yeah. So
Wallachia.
And I'm not saying that Interview with the Vampire is like the best vampire movie, because it's not. It's a decent film for sure. But
we should talk about it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. We can add it to the list. And real quick, because I want to get back to Blade. But for me, what makes it scary and more interesting are vampire movies that are more in tune with reality versus a cartoonish Blade and a cartoonish kind of Dusk Till Dawn version of vampires. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not scared by it at all. And not that I think that these are great horror films, Blade or Dusk Till Dawn, but vampires to me, like, I guess when I was a kid, they were always kind of like evil or
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I'm totally for like the vampires should be evil thing. Of course, like we don't want to get all fucking Twilight. That's just terrible.
Yeah, for sure.
What about True Blood?
Yeah, I'm not really that much of a fan of True Blood. I watched like the first 2 seasons and then just kind of got bored.
Yeah, I never got into True Blood, so yeah.
What about like in terms of like more realistic vampire movies? What do you think of 30 Days of Night?
30 Days.
Well, what do you mean by realistic vampire movie?
Yeah, they're not really. Any of them are not realistic.
I guess I should say more like classic modern, or traditional feel to them, I guess. But like in the sense that vampires are monsters and they're evil and the humans must kill them, which is what happens in 30 Days of Night.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like to me, vampires are just basically a horror fantasy race. Like if you're gonna call, like basically it's like a fantasy genre, kind of like a subgenre where vampires are like these other races of humans, and usually they throw in these other races like werewolves and fairies and spirits and stuff. But to me, it's all in the realm of fantasy. It's just fantasy horror, I guess you would call it, when they're talking about like vampires and werewolves and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're all based on folklore. Like all movies about vampires, all cross all like they're all defeated by the heart, or the cross, or like garlic, or all these kind of things that they're all seen throughout all vampire movies. They're all the same, right? They're based on kind of like,
Well, they're all based off of Bram Stoker's. That's basically like where it all started. So all of the vampire weaknesses come from that book. We're talking, with the exception of Silver. I think Silver is just a new thing they threw in as a crossover from werewolves, where Silver is supposed to kill werewolves.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess that was like their spin on it, that, you can use silver weapons and it kind of disintegrates these vampires pretty quickly. Yeah. Even though it's like they had so many ways to kill vampires, including that like serum that just made them explode into like a giant ball of blood or whatever.
And it's interesting that that's an enzyme. I think it's called EDTA, she said, right? And that's this enzyme is the only thing that can kill Frost ultimately when he becomes Lamagra, the vampire god.
Yeah, he becomes like a super resistant version of a vampire where the old tricks don't work. Like they were even using garlic and stuff. So like a lot of the old tricks were working. I don't think the cross worked in this one. It's almost if the cross itself as a supernatural symbol, I guess to me, it probably depends on the wielder of the cross, right? Because if like a non-believer just like shoves a cross in a vampire's face, I don't think it really has any effect on the vampire.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective before. I just thought of it from the perspective of like, maybe it wouldn't work on a vampire that's an atheist or a Muslim or something like that.
Muslim
Imagine.
Vampire.
No, yeah. I think there's a few movies I think where that happens, where there's a cross thrown in like the guy's face and he's a vampire and it doesn't.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like,
I can't remember which
shit doesn't work on me, man.
Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah, off the top of my head which ones they are, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't either. So, what about you, Dusty? What do you like most about Blade, and how do you rate it in comparison to other vampire movies?
Well, one of the most iconic scenes in Blade is its opening, which has that bloodbath club. It's probably the most famous scene in this movie. But just to talk about that scene, it's like you automatically, first off, you get introduced to these vampires and you get to see how bloodthirsty they are, and then you have this song that played, and just an anecdote about the opening music there. It was Wesley Snipes who wanted to put that song in the movie specifically because he heard that at a club when he was like partying, and he's like, let me talk to this DJ and find out what the name of this song is.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, he heard that song in the wild and then had them play this as the opening scene in the movie.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So you can thank Wesley Snipes for that.
That is a really like the way they introduce the character of Blade and vampires in that club scene is pretty fucking badass.
Yeah, so you get introduced with like Silver as something that works against them. Just a lot of ass kicking, like right in the beginning. So they set the tone of the movie right away.
Yep. Did I get cut out there for a sec?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. I think I lost your audio for a sec there.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but the Blade is also one thing to make note of. It's the first rated R Marvel movie. I don't know if you guys mentioned that.
Oh, yeah, no, we didn't. That's a good point. And it was way before the MCU, right?
Well, Blade was kind of the thing. I know there's no The Blade movies made Marvel movies viable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
Because
sense.
when Blade opened, Marvel was having difficulty staying afloat. I believe they were going through some type of bankruptcy crisis, and Blade actually turned it around for them.
Oh,
And
that's cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, and it made it so, okay, so we have some characters here. The movie was a success. What else could we highlight here? And
Right.
because before then, if you think of all the other Marvel movies before then, I think you had like a Hulk movie.
Was that before Blade?
Well, there was a Hulk movie before Blade.
Oh, okay. I
If I'm
thought
not
there was
mistaken.
one. I was thinking like there was one. Was there one like a long
There's a
time ago with
really,
Lou
really
Ferrigno
bad-
or something like that?
Yeah, there's a really bad Captain America movie.
Oh, okay.
It's terrible.
Okay.
Something I would not recommend watching.
I won't.
Pretty bad. But before then, the heroes were more kid-centric, kind of trying to appeal more to children. And then you get this, and it's more of an adult or late teen-oriented movie, as opposed to Marvel's earlier incarnations. Because the cinematic universe really doesn't start until Iron Man 1. That's kind of
Right.
where the MCU starts. But there were tons of other Marvel movies before then.
And like Marvel movies that weren't really Marvel movies, but kind of were like the first Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, because the first Spider-Man movies were Marvel movies, but the movies themselves weren't made by Marvel. They were made by Sony.
Yeah.
Because Sony had the license to the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But before Blade, most of those Marvel movies were flops.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking about. Okay, I can give you some of the ones made before. I don't know. Have you seen Howard the Duck?
No.
Dude, you're not knocking Howard the Duck now, are you?
It's a good movie. It's like a cult. I would consider it a cult classic, but it was not like a blockbuster.
No, for sure. It's like, yeah, it's a cult favorite. But yeah, what's her name is in that from Back to the Future too? The mother, what's her name? Anyway,
I don't know.
I think I saw that film. Like I used to, yeah, growing up as a kid, I watched that film 100 times. Obviously, I was a kid and didn't know any better. But
Yeah, there was a bunch of bad movies that came out before Blade, so
I had no
I
idea
wouldn't
that was
consider
Marvel.
Howard the Duck bad, but it wasn't, a hit.
Yeah, for sure. But I didn't know that was Marvel. I thought that was just like,
No, Howard the Duck's a Marvel character.
huh.
There's also a Punisher movie, Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a Dolph Lundgren one.
There's that really bad Captain America movie that I mentioned. Was made in 1990. There's actually a Fantastic Four movie. I've never seen it. I heard it's really
Before
bad.
Blade?
Yeah, it was
Oh, okay.
It was made in 1994.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that existed. Huh.
Yeah, so Blade actually predates the X-Men movies, by the way.
Yeah, I know. The first one was like 2000, wasn't it?
Right, and it also predates Spider-Man.
Right.
So Blade is kind of like the first one that was like a really big hit. So following Blade, you have other hits like Blade 2,
Mm-hmm.
and X-Men came 2 years later, and then you had Spider-Man, which came out 2 years after that, Daredevil was pretty bad. I don't know if you've seen that one with Ben Affleck.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Clark
yeah.
Duncan was good as Kingpin in that, though. He's one of the best Kingpins I've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. He played a very good Kingpin. And that first Hulk movie, I guess it did come after Blade, but it was in 2003.
Was that the Eric Bana one?
That's the first one with Eric Bana, and then funnily enough, there was another Punisher movie, which was a reboot of the one with Dolph Lundgren. And
aren't there like 2 reboots? Like, there's one with Thomas Jane, and then another one, Punisher Warzone, with I forget who the actor is.
The actor for Punisher Warzone is the guy who played one of the gladiators in Rome. I don't know if you've seen Rome. He also...
No, I haven't.
You got to see Rome if you ever get the chance. It's a really, really good series. It's a British actor. He's like in a lot of like British shows.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and Thomas Jane, he also plays Miller in The Expanse.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so when you get around to watching The Expanse, there you go. Thomas
Nice.
Jane plays Miller. Elektra, also bad movie.
Yeah.
I think all of the Fantastic Four movies were pretty critically panned.
Yeah.
The X-Men movies are okay. Like even the third one I liked.
I like them kind of. I'll rewatch them every once in a while.
But typically it looks like a lot of the Marvel movies that were made by Sony are the ones that are kind of crappy.
Yeah.
The ones all the ones made by Sony and Fox, because the Fox one has all of the licenses for well, I wouldn't say all, because Fox had the X-Men license and Daredevil, so I'm not. But they did have the Fantastic Four license, which was quite bad. But the last Marvel movie that came out before the MCU started was a Fantastic Four movie.
Okay.
Called Rise of the Silver Surfer, and then right after that,
I saw that one.
Yeah, right after that is 2008 when Iron Man came out. So pretty much most of the Marvel movies that came out post Iron Man are mostly Marvel produced, with the exception of some of those Spider-Man movies.
Right.
Which actually weren't bad. I never got around to watching the one with Jamie Foxx.
Oh, that's the second one with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man?
I have no idea who the fuck. It's like they changed Spider-Man so much.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep track.
I'm pretty sure that's the guy.
As the Tom Holland Spider-Man is the one that's part of the MCU.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's the whole Spider-Man thing is a little confusing to me.
Yeah. I like the first 2 with Tobey Maguire the most.
Yeah, 3 was pretty bad.
Yeah.
When he became all dark emo Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
Yeah. And well, like Willem Dafoe playing the Green Goblin is a fucking amazing performance too.
Yeah, I thought Thomas Hayden Church did a okay job in part 3.
Yeah, Sandman, right?
Right. This Eddie Brock was just... Well, have you seen any of the new Venoms?
Yeah, I haven't seen the newest second one, but yeah, I watched the new one with Tom Holland.
I thought it was all right. I
thought it was all right too.
Pretty decent. I heard people complaining about it, but when I watched it, I was like, this isn't bad. I thought it was... I would have gave it more favorable than unfavorable. You know, it's above
me too.
average.
I'd give that like 6 out of 10 or something like that.
Right. It wasn't bad. But yeah, Blade kind of kicked off the rated R, or the basically the more mature themed Marvel movies. Well, with the exception of the Punisher, but I don't think the Punisher was rated R, if I'm not mistaken.
Which one?
The very first one.
I think Warzone was, right? Warzone was more. I think Warzone was more like violent and bloody and brutal. The one with Thomas Jane was PG-13.
Yeah, but that came after Blade, though.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
The Dolph Lundgren Punisher came out in the 80s. 89 actually. And let me see what. Oh, it was rated R.
Oh, okay.
I guess it just did poorly.
Yeah.
It has a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's I think 5.7 on IMDb. I've never actually seen it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get around to it. If you want to laugh, I'd say go check out that old Captain America movie. It's so ridiculous.
Like it's so bad that it's funny.
Yeah, it looks like it was a made-for-TV movie. I think it was a made-for-TV movie.
Okay.
Let me look into this because I saw it on TV. I didn't go. I never heard about it going into the theaters or anything like that. Let me see. Action, sci-fi, PG-13, $3 million budget. That's such a small budget.
That's nothing.
Wow. You can imagine like how bad it was if it only had a $3 million. It had a think about it. It had a $3 million budget. That is so small.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see which movie company produced this. Well, it was produced by Marvel.
Yeah, but they're
yeah, it was a home video. It is basically straight to home video. So I was right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
it was a straight to home video movie.
This is when they had no money, right?
Yeah, well, this is 1990.
Yeah.
This is like one of their very early Marvel films. I think, and we're talking about films. Like there are shows and TV shows and cartoons and stuff, but man, it looks so bad. Like if you take a look at the screenshots of the costume and everything, it's pretty laughable.
Okay.
But I recommend you watch it if you want to laugh. You know, it's pretty funny because he's wearing like the old school, straight up like Captain America costume. It's not
like
modernized
and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not modernized at all.
Okay.
Because you know how the newer version kind of looks like he's wearing like a tactical suit.
Yeah.
With like a weird little headgear piece. And this one, he's like wearing a rubber suit and he has like the wings on his ears and everything.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool that the way Blade dresses is cooler. He has like leather pants and then he has like a shirt and an awesome trench coat that kind of can look like a cape sometimes, but not an actual cape.
Yeah, it's just like a very long trench coat, leather trench coat, you know, kind of, it's like Nick Fury was kind of trying to steal his vibe in the Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
yeah,
even then, he'd always look pretty cool in the comic books.
Okay. Yeah, have you read the comic books, Chris? Because I haven't read the comic books.
No, I never read the comic books.
He was a pretty obscure character, you know.
Okay. I think I had heard like maybe when I watched the special features on the movie at some point that in the comic book Blade is actually fully human. Is that true?
I don't know. He might have been fully human at some point in time. The weird thing about Marvel is they're always changing their stories up all the time.
He's
Okay.
Dampier.
Yeah, he's half and half.
Half and half.
Yes. Daywalker.
A Daywalker, yeah.
Or if you watch South Park, a ginger.
Gingers or Daywalkers?
Yeah, except Cartman had an episode about that, about how he was like really demonizing gingers and calling them daywalkers, and then to prank him, the other kids, Kyle and Stan and Kenny, they dyed his hair red and artificially put freckles on his face while he was sleeping, and then the next day he started getting all defensive and like playing the victim for being a ginger.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about the whole thing with La Magra and resurrecting a vampire god? I thought that part was really cool, that they're like the vampires actually had gods that they worshipped, and in this universe it seems like they actually used to exist and they can be resurrected and like possess you and give you as a vampire god like magical powers.
Well, I always thought it was weird, to be honest. Back when I remember, because I watched this in the studio in the theaters when it came out, so I always thought that whole vampire god thing was odd.
Okay.
Because there's no. I always think it's odd when there's no force, that they don't use any type of force that's opposite of a vampire god. Yeah, so
what do you mean?
What? Lose audio again?
You still there, Dusty?
Can you hear me, Andrew?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Testing. You can't hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah. We can. Can you hear him now, Chris?
Yep.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
so
we lost
you hear me
your
now.
audio. So, what do you mean by that there's no opposing force to the vampire god?
Well, it's just like a weird trump card they pull out, like a vampire god. Okay, that's kind of weird, and they're using like science to defeat this vampire god.
Mm.
You know, so
Yeah.
it was just kind of weird, like odd.
But I think like where Deacon's at in the movie, he's kind of like tired and been around for a while, and like I get the sense that he wanted to move to the that next level. He wanted to become a god. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's why it's in the film, is what I was getting at for as far as Blade goes.
Like Frost the Frost ultimate villain motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know, he's vampire too, right? So it's
Yeah, he's a mudblood though.
Yeah, I thought that part was interesting too. How like there's this class distinction within vampires between the purebloods and the like the people who were born as humans. I think that's interesting
Muggles.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Muggles.
But in the film, it's
Mudbloods.
not like he still. He goes to that boardroom where they're all talking, and there's no hierarchy to him. And I feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? Shit. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, what I was getting at, I just feel like there's no, like he's kind of tired of the whole vampire, whatever you call that, not Congress, but like all of them together.
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
right?
I think they call them the council, right?
Council. Thank you.
Council of Elders.
Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
House of
Congress.
Representatives.
Yes.
he wants to, like he doesn't view them as an authority at all, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be part of that whole class that they're in.
Yeah, and he does it like we see in that scene where he's in that like boardroom meeting with them, that he resents them making deals with humans to like keep the peace and stuff, and he thinks that vampires should just openly rule society and have humans be subject to the rule of vampires, basically.
Yeah. He's tired of the conservative vampires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. Damn progressive vampires gotta organize a coup and resurrect a vampire god.
So is he like a Marxist vampire? Or?
I guess so.
A socialist vampire.
I don't think he cares about the workers, though. I'm just gonna guess that.
Yeah. He just wants power.
I for the most part, I don't think like, I don't know, that's the God part and them searching. Like I know it's part of the main story, but I think like you watch a Blade for basically the action and the stunts and the killing, the violence, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's kind of more of like the background and the plot. And going back to what I said originally, like the plot is strong enough to hold the movie intact. It's not the greatest. And it falls in line with a lot of cliches, you know what I mean? Like, which a lot of superhero movies do.
It does like exactly what you expect it to do, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
This is a movie about a badass vampire slayer slaying vampires.
Yeah.
Guess what? He's gonna have some challenges sometimes, and he's gonna lose some people, and then things are gonna change for the positive, and then randomly he's gonna be able to defeat this awesome god vampire, and it'll still be awesome, even though it doesn't really make that much sense.
What do you think about sunscreen allowing them to go in the light?
That seems stupid. I didn't like that part.
I guess
we got this really good sunscreen, man. It means that we as vampires don't die.
Do you remember the ridiculous part where does he kick a child through like a newspaper stand?
No, he throws her into the street so Blade will have to save her from being hit by a bus.
Yeah, but he threw her through like a newspaper stand. It wasn't that he tossed her into a street. He threw the child through a newspaper stand and like knocked it over.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit.
Vampire super strength, man.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to show, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I never saw Blade 2 or Blade 3.
Really? Well, we should talk about those sometimes. I think Dusty and I might have briefly talked about them before. I think I like 2 and 3, but I think Dusty doesn't like them as much as I do. Is that true, Dusty?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of going, is where do Blade 2 and 3 hold up versus 1? And I know I get a lot of sequels never hold up to the original. Yeah. Unless they're Back to the Future or something.
I still think the first one is the best. I just think basically the second and third ones are good for the same kind of reasons as the first one is, in my opinions, like all the awesome action and vampire killing and stuff. But in the second one, basically Blade has to team up with the vampires to kill these new mutated vampires who are feeding on vampires, and he works with them because at first he responds with saying something like, well, it sounds like they're doing me a favor, and then basically just one line convinces him, well, when they're done with us, who do you think they're going to come after next? Your precious humans. So then he's fighting these mutated vampires with the vampires, and then it gets a little bit more interesting than that. And then in the third one, it's basically is Blade versus Dracula, and there actually is a Dracula, and he comes back to life, and the and I think it's also kind of cool too, because Ryan Reynolds is in it and provides comic relief, and it's the first movie where he was like muscular Ryan Reynolds, like not Van Wilder days. So he's in an action movie and he's all muscular, but he's also still the comic relief, and like even when he's being tortured, he's just telling jokes and shit. So that part's funny.
Yeah, I never realized Ryan Reynolds was in it.
Yeah, he's like support or something like that. Plays like a support role.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we could talk about him and add him to the list. I just
Yeah.
I never saw Blade 2.
So, what did you think about 2 and 3 in comparison to the first one, Dusty?
Well, like I said, I was like the first one the best. The plot holes in 2 are just like, what the fuck? I don't. Like, serious? I think you know what I'm talking
Like
about.
what? Like
the
what?
return
Like
of
what
a character that got killed on screen.
Oh, Whistler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're dead.
Oh yeah,
You're
sorry,
like,
spoiler alert, Chris. But that they tell you that in like the first 10 minutes of Blade 2 or something like that. That Whistler's still alive. I think it's in like the opening scene actually. He talked.
Yeah, I
there's
was
like a voice.
I was taking a very good look at the scene where he died. I was like, there's no way he could have come back from that. This doesn't fucking make sense. Like he should, like really? Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he got bit.
Even though I like that movie, another really like what seems like kind of lazy writing is like that part at the end, where that guy who betrays him, he says, "I knew what you were doing all along." But then the obvious question is, well, then why the fuck did you let them get that far with that shit, man?
Wasn't it like Ron Perlman or something like that?
No, he was the guy. He was the guy who was working with the guy who betrayed Blade. But
I just remember Ron Perlman was in it. That's all I remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember much about Blade 2 except that whole plot about the super vampires. But
yeah, I am not sold on seeing this movie at all.
and then Blade 2, they tried to do like a wannabe like bloodbath scene, but it didn't hit like the first one.
Which one was that? I don't remember.
I remember in one of those.
You mean when they went into the club?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that definitely wasn't as good. Oh, I think your audio might have cut out again there, Dusty. Yeah, there's a club scene. Oh, are you back there now, Dusty?
Yeah, I think it might be. I probably need some new cabling. Could be like my cables are getting old and I have to buy a new one.
Okay. But yeah, there's that club scene in the second one, right? Which I agree is definitely not as good as the club scene in the first one.
Yeah, so to me, it's just not as good as the first one. It's okay if you want to continue on the plot of like the series, but I think the first one is just the best of the movies.
Yeah, I agree. How do you like the third one in comparison to the second one?
I don't even remember the third one.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I watched it once and I couldn't tell you anything about it.
Okay.
That's how unmemorable it was for me. Like Blade 3 seemed like it could have been a made-for-TV movie.
I liked it. I just didn't think it was as good as the first one. I kind of liked it. So do you like the second one more than the third one then? Because I kind of like the third one more than the second one actually.
I remember more of the second one.
Okay.
So I probably liked the second one more because I remember more of it. But the second one was more like horror.
That's true.
There's like a lot of horror kind of elements in part 2. Especially like when they're going around in the sewers and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas Blade 1 is more like an ass-kicking fest with, vampires and because the interesting thing about part 2 is that those super vampires have a clear advantage. So they can't just go straight into ass-kicking. They kind of have to be a bit more smart and tactical about how they approach them.
That's true.
And it kind of reminds me a little bit like of Aliens versus like an Aliens movie where they're a bit more lethal, so they can't just go into ass kicking mode and just handle things. They gotta think their way through things.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like that more horror aspect of it too. I like the horror feel for vampires in the vampire genre too. Like that's one thing I like about that movie 30 Days of Night that I mentioned, because that really is like a full-on horror vampire movie. It's like the vampires are here, they're trying to kill us, we have to kill them so we can survive.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've seen that movie once. I couldn't tell you too much about it.
I think I might have seen it like 2 or 3 times. Have you seen that one, Chris? 30 Days of Night?
30 Days of Night. I don't
It's
think
the one
so.
with Josh Hartnett.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, maybe
whatever happened to Josh Hartnett?
Yeah, I don't know,
like
right? He
disappeared.
hasn't been in a movie in a long time.
Yeah, because I remember he was in like a lot of different movies, and then he just like disappeared.
Yeah, and he was the heartthrob for a while. All the girls loved that guy.
He was in a few pretty good movies too. Like definitely my favorite movie with him is Lucky Number 11. Have you guys seen that?
No, I haven't. Wasn't he in Black Hawk Down?
Yeah, he was in Black Hawk Down. Oh, we should definitely talk about Lucky Number 11 sometimes. It's got a fucking awesome plot.
I haven't seen it, so it would be something new to me.
And it's got Bruce Willis too, and then Ben Kingsley and Morgan Freeman play rival gang bosses. Which is pretty cool
so it's stacked.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like without getting into any spoilers, it's basically about this assassin and then just this regular guy who kind of gets roped into this conflict between the two gang bosses because he gets mistaken for his friend because he's staying at his friend's place.
Hey, I got a random question that's kind of off topic.
What
do you think of the Alec Baldwin situation?
Oh, I just heard about that. He apparently accidentally shot someone because someone handed him a gun and he thought it was empty, but it actually had real bullets in it or something like that, right?
Yeah, super tragic. And
that's awful. I mean,
it's kind of the talk of the town this weekend, and I know we're talking about movies and guns, so I just thought I'd ask you what you thought about it.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know how live ammunition still makes it onto a set in 2021. That's what boggles my mind, because Brendan Lee died at the same thing in, I think it was the early 2000s or late 90s when they were making what's the name of that film? Anyway,
it was The Crow.
Yeah, that's right. It was The Crow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. But yeah, they should. I don't know. It's crazy to me how live animation, how that was on a set. Was he set up like that?
Well, from what I understand, you can still kill people with blanks.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But I also heard that it wasn't confirmed it was blanks. I heard it was actually confirmed that it was real ammunition.
Was it? I haven't. Yeah. Outside of the initial breaking news story, I haven't followed up with it. So, I wonder if this is the end of his career, because I don't know. It's pretty traumatic. And he's probably financially stable. So,
yeah,
I don't know if he can still do stuff like this anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure.
Who's going to be held responsible for that too? Because he killed someone, but he didn't intentionally kill someone because he thought it wasn't possible to kill that person. That's a very interesting, philosophical question.
Yeah, I know. It's actually a conundrum. If you think about it, if he obviously didn't know it was loaded, and I don't know, like, do they practice gun safety too when before they do a movie like this? You know, how does the guy that is propped or the prop manager, how does he not like double check and let him know before he hands over the gun? You know,
Yeah.
I heard people walked off the set a few weeks before that because they were protesting the lack of restrictions on guns on this set. So how does that
Oh,
even?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't
Oh,
hear
wow.
that.
So yeah, there's a lot to the story actually, and I don't know. It's
Probably going to become a documentary someday. Sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, I
For
would
sure.
watch that. Yeah.
But I do think Alec. Well, I don't know if his career is done, but I mean that's got to change you as a person, just as a human being. You know what I mean? Going through that
Right.
trauma, whether you come back from that or not, I don't know. But it's
Yeah.
So need to go.
I can't
Going to go to therapy or something.
I can imagine how that would feel.
yeah.
Yeah, because he killed the cinematography director, and I believe shot the director. The
That's right.
director survived.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The other
Oh, I
thing,
didn't even
too-
know it was more than one person. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
no.
Well, he shot 2 people. One of them didn't survive.
Oh, wow. Holy
The other
shit.
thing too is wasn't it in like Mexico they were shooting or
It
something?
was in New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico. Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was in the United States.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was in Mexico, but I might have, yeah, I misread that. So
Yeah. Because they're not allowed to, you're not allowed to have guns in Mexico.
gotcha.
Yeah. Hey, you know, speaking of guns and Blade, that's actually like one little thing that I think is cool in Blade 2 that isn't in the first Blade movie, when they have those pistols that have like round things below the handle that are like that they use as knives basically. So if you run out of ammo in your guns, you can use them to slice the vampires that are attacking you. I think those are just cool guns.
And it's also cool. Like I haven't seen number 2, but number 1 using the knife, and there's not as much gun focus in Blade, obviously, than there is in other action movies. It's kind of cool too. Speaking of,
Yeah, especially like his shotgun with stakes. That's a really cool gun that he uses for killing vampires too.
Yeah,
Is that in part 2?
That's a good question. It's definitely in part 1. I don't remember whether it's in part 2. Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Okay. Because they had the UV lights.
Yeah, those are cool. Like the guns with the UV lights on them, and then the filters, since you're hunting with vampires. So if you're a human and you point it at a vampire, it can have the filter on it, and then you turn it off if you want to actually use it to kill a vampire.
Okay. It's been a while since I've seen 2.
They also have those they also make those UV grenades in the second one. And then there's a UV bomb that they make that's basically like a whole bunch of UV grenades stacked together and with a bomb with a timer on it. That's pretty cool when they use that in that kind of like horror setting in the tunnel, right?
Right. Yeah, I remember that from part 2. Yeah, the main thing about part 2, like, I don't know. The thing I remember most is them being in the sewer. That's like I don't remember a whole lot about part 2 except the horror in the sewer. Like, I think that they spend a pretty good amount of the latter half of the movie down there hunting vampires.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, that reminded me too. Like I put in the title of this one my favorite line from the movie. I told you guys some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. That Blade says right before he kills Frost by kicking the final syringe into him and making him explode. That reminds me of in the second movie, right before Blade sets the UV bomb off, and then as it explodes, he does this like giant circular sword swing in a circle and slashes a whole bunch of vampires as they jump out of the water. He right before that he drops some grenades and he says, "You do not know how you are fucking with," and then he does that awesome sword kill and then they all get blown up. That's pretty badass too.
I think I don't remember if it was in the second movie or the third movie, because there's always a big vampire boss that he has to fight. In one of those movies, he does like a suplex on one of those vampires. I don't remember which.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's in the second one. Actually,
is it the second one where he suplexes?
Yeah. He suplexes that like leader mutant vampire guy. Like the leader of the mutant vampires, who turns out, I'm pretty sure he turns out to be the son of kind of like the leader or ruler of the regular vampires, which ends up being a key part of the plot. And that guy basically is sending Blade and all of those vampire hunters after his son and all of the mutant vampires that he has made out of the real vampires when the mutant vampires feed on the real vampires.
Okay. But yeah, I just remember, who was the guy that plays it? You've seen the movie? Not movie. Any of you seen that show, Prison Break?
Yeah.
You know
No,
the
I
guy
haven't,
that plays Michael Scofield's brother?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays one of the vampire bosses. I don't know if it's the first movie, the second movie, or the third. Dominic Purcell, I think his name is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the third one. He plays Dracula in the
Oh,
third
he
one.
plays Dracula. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in the third movie. I forgot who's in the second one. Who the main bad vampire
I don't know who the
is.
actor is, but it's the guy who's the leader of the mutant vampires who ends up being the vampire boss.
And also in the first movie, we saw that there's a vampire language that they speak.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That ancient vampire language.
So it's kind of like this ancient vampire history, a language, a god. It would have been more interesting if they gotten a little bit more into depth, but then again, it's a movie. You know, it's not really something you can go too much in depth.
Yeah, it would have been cool if they had built out that vampire lore more in the second and third ones too.
Yeah, or at least like kept a through line through those three movies, you know.
Yeah.
But even wasn't there going to be another Blade?
Was there?
Aren't they rebooting it?
I hadn't heard that.
I swear to God, they were rebooting Blade.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
different
Google
actor.
Wesley Pipes.
Oh, with a different actor?
Yeah, I believe
How can
so.
it not be Wesley Snipes? I know there was a TV show, but I never saw that. Did you guys see the TV show?
Yeah, there's a reboot. They announced it in August, I think.
Oh, yeah. The new Blade movie is currently scheduled to start filming in July 2022.
Yeah, do you know who they got for Blade?
Who will play the next Blade? Two-time Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali. Oh, is that the guy who's in season 3 of True Detective? And he's in season 1 of Luke Cage? Is that who I'm thinking
of? Yes, it's that guy. Yes, Mahershala Ali. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I could see that guy doing a good job of playing Blade. He's definitely good at playing like this stoic hero character.
But what are his like action credentials, you know? Hand-to-hand fighting credentials?
That's a good question. I'm going to...
Yeah, because we know that Wesley Snipes is a legit martial artist.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll have to see how this is going to work. He's probably getting training or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet. I'm looking up his filmography on IMDb.
I remember him from Moonlight.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
It won an Academy
Was it-
Award.
Oh, they made I guess there was a series, a Blade series
Yeah,
on Spike
mentioned that. I
TV.
never watched that.
Oh, and he's in
I
Hunger
never
Games.
watched that, but I was aware of it when it was on. He's in the Hunger
So
Games?
you knew. Who is?
Okay.
I'm thinking it's of the same guy.
This actor, Mahashara Ali, he was in the Hunger Games?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I was in that
Well, he's done a
season
bunch of different
Oh, did you
movies.
know he was in Alita Battle Angel?
Yeah, he was the main bad guy.
Oh, and he must have done a voice in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Hmm.
Yeah, remember he was the main bad guy in Alita?
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, I do remember that now that you mention it. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was like
Okay.
the town mafia boss.
Yeah, and then he was Cottonmouth in Luke Cage, and he was Juan in Moonlight, like you mentioned, Chris. And
Yeah. And he was in House of Cards too. That's
oh yeah, that's what
That's
I first
right. He
remembered
was
him
one of the
from. He was in
lobbyists.
he was in like the first several seasons of House of Cards. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the first thing I saw him in actually.
yeah. But all these are Dusty's right. They're all like he's a good dramatic actor. That will translate into a Blade type
Yeah. That's a
action
good question.
character is another. Yeah. And I
Because
don't
he
know,
did
man.
play
Like
Cottonmouth, but he didn't like do a whole bunch of like action scenes,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
The only thing I've seen him in that he's done some kind of action stuff is in season 3 of True Detective, because he plays a Vietnam vet in that, and he like gets into a few shootouts as a cop and that kind of stuff. But not a whole lot of like stuff that's like crazy superhero shit, just kind of like shootouts.
We'll have to see.
yeah, is it
But I
too
didn't-
soon for a reboot too? I always find I always question reboots when like didn't Blade this trilogy just end yesterday? Do you know what I mean? Like
Well, the thing about Marvel is they have a history of rebooting things, like
I
even
know.
within the comic books. So that's why you see so many freaking reboot, like Spider-Mans and X-Men's, and they're just constantly being rebooted. And like even the source medium, they're constantly being rebooted.
yeah, but I feel like I saw the Spider-Man cartoon into the Spider-Verse, but did I see the last Spider-Man after that?
What
So the Blade series was only one season, and Blade was played by Sticky Fingers,
Oh yeah.
who was a rapper. I think he was in what's that group called? Onyx. Do you remember that group, Onyx?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
No.
Slam. Da,
Yeah.
da, da, da,
Let the
da,
boys
da.
be boys.
Let the boys be boys.
Yeah, I remember that.
He was in that
Oh, okay.
group.
It was a club banger for a few years.
Oh, okay.
This is probably before your time, Andrew.
It might be. Yeah.
I think it was before you were born. Let me see when that came out. It might have came out when I remember it being a big deal in middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
If it was in the 80s, it's basically before my time, because I was born in the last few months of '89.
Let's see. When did it come out? Slam came out in 1993, so that was when you were a small wee one.
I probably don't remember anything I watched when I was 4, other than maybe Barney, because I saw it like 400 times.
And Sesame Street.
Yeah, 93. I think I was in middle school.
Okay.
So I was I think a 7th grader in 93.
Okay.
But that was the jam back then.
Okay.
Yeah, I had him on a mixtape with Fooshnickens. Do you remember those guys?
Yeah.
No.
They had a couple good ones.
Yeah, they had a couple of bangers.
There's a lot of like really obviously 90s techno in the Blade movie too, eh?
Well, yeah. Well, there's of course the blood bath scene, and then there's an interesting scene where Frost is doing some research, and he's like listening to some drum and bass on his headphones. And then like a lot of the interstitial action music is techno.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find like the original soundtrack, and it's a bunch of like techno.
Yeah.
Techno tracks.
Like club scene when he's fighting Frost. The one, especially the club scene, and when he's fighting Frost, maybe even more so when he's fighting Frost, is like super 90s techno.
Yeah, I think there's some Prodigy, if I'm not mistaken, in there too. But
oh, okay,
I could be wrong. But there is some hip hop in there as well. Let's see, we got Mob Deep.
Oh, okay.
But there's definitely a lot of techno in there.
Yeah.
Junkie XL. I remember he was big back then. Junkie XL is like that techno.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, a lot of club bangers.
Cool.
Gangstar is also on the Blade soundtrack.
Oh, I started listening to Gangstar in more recent years because Joe Rogan talks about him so much.
Yeah, Gangstar. Let's see. PMD. Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. Mob Deep.
Yeah, you mentioned him.
KRS-One.
Oh, nice.
Mystical. So yeah, there were like some pretty big hip hop guys from that era that were on there.
What was Blade?
97, I think. No, 98. Yeah.
98. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was.
This was still like the what I call the lyricist era.
Yeah.
When there was like a heavy focus on lyrics, and then you get in the 2000s where it's like mostly a heavy focus on the club scene. And then you get 2010 where it just becomes unintelligible nonsense. Yeah, it's kind of like the curse of idiocracy touched upon hip hop.
Yeah.
As well as everything else.
Oh man, like that annoys me so much now. Like so much, like when so many times when I listen to new hip hop nowadays, like even if it's with artists who I've listened to before and I like some of their rap that I've heard before, it gets like all fucking totally auto-tuney and shit. I can't handle that auto-tune shit, man. It ruins songs for me.
Yeah, it's bad. Like imagine if friggin' Method Man's turned on some auto-tune, and that would be just so stupid. Like you gotta be kidding me. You don't need to do this shit.
Yeah.
Like, definitely. You don't need to try to sing hooks, you know. Get somebody who's good at singing hooks on there instead of trying to put auto-tune on your out of tune voice.
Yeah. And then it's like
even Ja Rule tried to sing hooks. That didn't go very well.
Yeah. That's like a weird thing that some rappers are doing more now too. Like they'll alternate between rapping and singing, and I don't mind that sometimes, but I prefer, like, I'm conservative about this. I prefer my rappers to be rappers.
Right. It just goes much better then.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's cool when they like when a rapper features a woman with a beautiful voice who's like singing the like the lead up to the chorus, and then the rapper does the chorus or something like that. But when they when they try to do both of them, or then they auto-tune their own voice when they're not rapping. I'm like, dude, just stick to rapping. Like, why this shit?
Yeah, the only person that I'll give a pass on is T-Pain. Because that's
But that's all that he does.
I know, but usually rappers will get him to do that part.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But T-Pain's actually, without auto-tune, he's a decent singer. I think he just...
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I've heard him without auto-tune.
No, I've heard him without auto-tune. He's pretty good. Like, he doesn't need it. He just does that for like a effect, I guess, or to... Well, when he did it, he was doing it uniquely. Like, it was just him, and everybody bit off of him. But to be honest, he doesn't really need it. Like, he doesn't have a bad voice or anything.
Okay. Did you guys see that South Park episode where they were making fun of Kanye, and they had Kanye they had Kanye doing a song about fish sticks in auto-tune on the episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was so funny.
That is funny.
South Park is the best because they make fun of everything from every angle.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. I'm so behind on it. I gotta catch up.
I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah,
I've been doing that lately. I kind of like randomly stopped somewhere around season 20, so I think I've watched like another 2 seasons or so since then.
So you've watched 2 more. Everything up to season 20?
Yeah, a long time ago, like before streaming services, I started buying seasons of the DVDs. So I have like most of the seasons on DVD.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You're hardcore.
Yeah, man. I love South Park. They're the best animated show.
Yeah, the last season I got into was like the one where they're making fun of PC culture.
Yeah, that's actually the one I've been watching lately. It's pretty awesome. Like
with the PC principle and
PC principle
and the Whole Foods.
Yeah, Randy got woke. It's so funny.
And then Mr. Garrison got like super right wing.
Yeah, Mr. Garrison becomes basically Trump, right?
Yeah. People were really mad about that season, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's because they instead of Trump and Hillary, they had giant douche and turd sandwich, really obviously representing both of them.
But yeah, that's the last season that I was like really into.
Yeah, they keep making fun of like culture basically now. Like I haven't seen it yet, but some of their newest episodes, they're making fun of COVID, so I have to watch those for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm super behind, man. I even have all of the South Park video games, and I haven't even opened them yet.
Oh, really? How many are there?
Well, there's the 2 that came out. They're both RPGs. So one of them is called. They have really funny names. I forgot the name. Like one of them is.
Isn't the
Fractured Butthole?
Yeah. The newest one's called The Fractured Butthole.
Yeah, it's not like the actual ass, but like it sounds like butthole, but it's butthole.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have the one that came out before that, but both of them are still wrapped in plastic. I haven't even opened them yet.
Oh, okay.
I have probably like 20 Xbox games I haven't opened.
Oh man!
Oh wow!
It just gets backlogs and backlogs, and I'll see like an Xbox game go on sale for like $10, and I'll buy it, and it just goes on my shelf in case I might want to play it someday.
The South Park movie is the best musical of all time. Also,
making fun of Canadians.
Sure. Yeah.
It's making fun of you guys.
Yep.
That movie in general, didn't like.
It makes fun of everyone's, like
Yeah.
America bombs Canada over fart jokes.
Yeah, I think that movie is probably the loudest I've ever laughed in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember that. I
Team
always
Canada
remember.
or Team America World Police was also like that too, where I was just howling at a cartoon.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. You know,
Yeah.
oh, dude, Dusty, remember when we talked about that movie? That documentary, This Film Is Not Yet Rated, about the film rating industry.
Right.
Remember that part where they were interviewing Matt Stone and they were asking him about when they made Team America, and he was saying, "We got these notes about the sex scene with the puppets, but they didn't tell us what to change, and they said we would still have an NC-17 rating if we didn't cut some stuff from that sex scene, but we didn't know what to cut, so we just kept it in and added more stuff and kept the NC-17 rating and added them like shitting and pissing on each other."
Because I remember there was
Yeah.
there was a version. Because when I went to the theaters, there was a different version than when they came out on DVD.
Yeah.
Oh, you could see like an R-rated version?
There's an extended
Yeah.
version or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
in the
okay.
theaters it was R-rated, so they didn't have the pooping and peeing on there.
Oh, okay.
Well, that sounds good.
It's so funny that they did that.
Yeah.
uh,
that sounds like
freaking South Park,
One of the
Matt,
people who said that sounds the most likely.
Matt and Trey.
Yeah,
Is it on-
they're geniuses.
But yeah, I watched recently. You posted like that commentary on the Warcraft episode. I didn't know.
Oh
that-
yeah, they do. That's one thing that's cool about the DVDs that I bought. They all do. There are commentary. They're just mini commentaries that they do on every episode. They always think we're not going to be able to talk about this episode for half an hour, so they do like 5-minute commentaries on each episode.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know they had that much involvement with Blizzard in making the episode. I thought that was pretty
Yeah, I didn't
interesting.
know that either, actually, until I heard that. Yeah,
it's
did
like
you
they
know
made
that,
all-
Chris, that the Blizzard did all the animation for their World of Warcraft episode?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I like those guys.
Yeah, they're
They
the
make some
best.
killer games.
Which
Yeah,
ones
but
have you
I-
played?
World of Warcraft?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the South Park games.
Oh, the South Park games. I haven't played any.
Yeah,
South Park
Blizzard
games.
definitely made some good games too.
Mhm.
Warcraft, StarCraft, all of those.
Yeah, I never played any of the World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I played
I
StarCraft
mostly
and
played.
Diablo, but not.
I mostly played the original Warcraft too. Not as much World of Warcraft.
Yeah. It's hard to keep up, man. Like going back to how like Dusty was saying, he has games that he hasn't even played. Yeah, I'm guilty of that too, where I've downloaded games from I'm gonna play this one day because they're on sale for like $10-15 online, and then I play like a level or two, right? And then it's like forgotten about, and there's a whole entire like game sitting there with like probably like 200 levels that I could, you know what I mean? But same with like Squid Game and all this Blade 2 and 3. Like there's so much content out there. It's I struggle so much. Like the other night I found myself watching, I had a baseball game on, I had a podcast that I was listening with the baseball game muted while I was playing a video game. Like trying to knock off as much media content as I could. Just keep up on like
I used to when I used to game a lot more than I have more recently. I used to sometimes just listen to podcasts while I was gaming.
Yeah. Oh, I do it all the time, man. It's like all my games, I go right as soon as I buy a game, I go right into the settings. I go through all the audio settings and I turn them all down. I mute them all because I listen to Spotify through the PlayStation, and yeah.
For a while I had this. I would sometimes bring my smaller TV from my room downstairs so that I could have a podcast playing on one TV and with the sound, and then do what you did and then mute the sound of the video game.
Yeah. No, I've done that too. I had a like YouTube going with just the audio off my phone while I'm playing a video game, and like stolen my kid's iPad so I could have like a hockey game or football game off in the corner so I could just keep my eye on the score while I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've even tried like more recently, I've even tried sometimes like while I'm doing a yoga video on YouTube on my TV, also trying to listen to a podcast on my phone at the same time, but it's too hard to focus because I'm listening to two voices at once.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm like, when I'm doing all this shit, I'm like, am I really absorbing all this podcast while I'm playing video games and so I do try to keep it honest to myself. And if I'm like doing too much kind of, stimulation, I'll put on music, whereas like it's like I can tune in and out of a song while I'm playing video games, but it's like not a podcast where I have to pay attention to 100% of the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
But
I used to do that before I listened to podcasts. I would do the same sort of thing. Like back in my like Fable and Halo days, I would mute the sound on the game and like listen to a Metallica CD or something like that.
Yeah, but I got audiobooks I'm trying to get through. I got podcast episodes that I'm trying to get through, and like
I'm listening to audiobooks and podcasts all day long every day. It's so
yeah,
addicting.
I know. Yeah, I'm the same. Although I have to give it a break every once in a while because I do have a limit where it's like, am I just listening to this and not absorbing it at all? Right? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I do try to mix it up with music every once in a while. But yeah, that's just a stack of video games. I still
That's a good idea.
There's
Yeah,
a stack of books.
I make sure to listen to at least a little bit of music every day too.
Yeah, I try to stick by, if I can, I do Monday to Friday audiobooks, podcasts. Saturday, Sunday is the weekend, music only, no audiobooks, no podcasts. And sometimes I can pull that off. Sometimes I don't. Obviously, if it's like kids aren't around and like, I'll put on whatever podcast or
Yeah.
If kids aren't around, it's also good hip hop time too, because like swearing and shit can't be played with kids around. So my guys are too young, but yeah,
that'd be funny if it were their first time hearing the N-word. Dad, why do they keep saying that?
Yeah, no doubt. Although like I don't know, the shit that the top 40 that's out there is, even though it's not like in your face vulgar, it's just as horrible and I don't know, not good for kids.
Does it seem to you? It seems to me like even like music videos of rappers where the swears, like the censored version, the swears are censored. It seems like sometimes in newer ones they censor the swears, but they don't censor them saying the N-word. Does it seem that way to you guys, or is that just some weird thing that I'm mistaken about?
Yeah, I put on there's a censored like top 40 Spotify playlist that doesn't drop N-bombs, F-bombs, S-bombs, anything. It's just pure like.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, or they just pick songs that don't have swearing at all. But yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I don't listen to top 40, so it's not like I know what's in the know anyway, right? So I'm probably playing shit that's not even cool. It's fucking.
So it's a pacifist version.
Yeah, pacifist.
Yeah, pacifist version.
No
that
bombs.
reminds me. You know how there was that whole COVID shit stuff about Nicki Minaj talking about her like cousin's friend's swollen balls. I noticed like a few days after she did that, made this whole kerfuffle about that, she put out a new music video. I was like, I wonder if Nicki Minaj was trying to just use that to make a comeback.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds a little convenient, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really take medical advice from.
I wouldn't take my medical advice from Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, it'd be really hard for me to play a video game and listen to a podcast. I just can't do it.
Yeah, because you have to focus too much on the podcast.
Well, it's that, and then I've been playing Skyrim, so there's dialogue and shit in there.
Oh yeah.
Games that have dialogue you can't do. I'm talking like if I'm playing Madden or something like that, right? Or I'm playing like NHL,
A fighting game or something.
a fighting, yeah, something that where like I don't really care what
Smash Brothers.
What the announcer is gonna say.
Yeah, fighter game. You don't need to hear that.
Yeah, but even like Call of Duty, I mean, you don't need to hear the gunshots unless I'm playing obviously on a squad with other guys. Then yeah, but
right. Yeah, that
every
makes sense.
Every situation is different.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think we kind of stopped talking about Blade a long time ago. But we've been talking about some other interesting stuff too.
What's the next one on the list? Do you know?
So I was thinking, you said you were 2 episodes into Squid Game, right?
Yeah, I'm behind. Isn't there 9 episodes in that season?
Yeah. No, I was thinking though, it would be a good idea to do 3 episodes on that and do an episode on the first 3 episodes, or do a podcast on the first 3 episodes first, because like 9 episodes is still a 9-hour long thing, and we usually do 1 episode on a 2-hour movie. So I figured that would be a good idea if you guys are cool with that, and then we could plan to do the first episode on Squid Game next week if you guys want to do that.
Sure.
Does that sound good to you, Dusty?
I've seen it all, so we're good.
Right. Oh yeah, you saw all 9 episodes, right?
Yeah.
I made the mistake of listening to a podcast where people were talking about Squid Game the other day, and they spoiled a major plot twist for me, so that pissed me off.
You gotta stay away from it, man.
Yeah.
Get you every time.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. Yeah, exactly.
It's hard
All
with the
right,
internet,
well,
though.
Yeah, it really is. I know, right? I thought, well, I bet I can avoid. I bet they don't get into spoilers that much, though. But then, like halfway through, they said a major spoiler. I'm like, fuck! I bet I'm still gonna like it, but I'm gonna know that's gonna happen now. All right. Well, yeah. Anyway, thanks for talking, guys. And yeah, let's plan to do the first episode on Squid Game next week. That should be fun. And hopefully Shizan can join next week too. And also check out on Dusty's channel next week. We're gonna talk about season 4 of Castlevania, which will be cool. And and next week Dusty and I are also going to do another critical race theory chat with Peter Salmon, who's that author of a biography on Derrida called An Event Perhaps, that I've talked with a few times about philosophy before, so that'll be interesting too. And yeah, like I always like to say at the end of my videos here, thanks to everyone for watching. Click like and subscribe and click the bell to be notified when I come out with my next videos, and check me out on Patreon. The link's in the description of the video there. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being a tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And watch Blade. It's an awesome movie. And watch Squid Game so you can watch us talk about it next week. All right. So thanks again, guys. And anything else you want to say before we end it there?
No, it's good.
No. Just check us out next week. CRT,
yeah, and check out
CRT.
Dusty's channel. Check out Dusty's channel, Woke Centrist.
Yeah, I'll be uploading the download that you gave me. I'll probably be
the
putting
CRT chat with you and I on my channel a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm
whenever
gonna put it on. I'm gonna upload it probably tomorrow.
Cool. Prepare for angry comments.
I don't mind.
Yeah,
people will probably be mad because I had like some Thomas Sowell videos. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You traitor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm critical of both. I have criticism. Like if you saw my Thomas Sowell videos, I criticize some of his points. Like,
Yeah.
you're kind
You
of
saw in my chat with Ben Burgess last week where I had him address some of the comments where people were mentioning Thomas Sowell, and then I mentioned Thomas Sowell's definition of race as a social construct based on biological characteristics as well.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't understand people. The only people who say this not are race realists like Jared Taylor and people like that.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, yeah, check out our continuous bashing of public intellectuals that really makes people all butthurt. And and hopefully there won't be angry comments about Blade, but that's okay. I like to get angry at angry comments, just like lots of people do. So.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna be streaming with Reed in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
He's gonna do some street epistemology on us.
Yep, gonna ask us about us criticizing James Lindsay so much because he had James Lindsay on his podcast recently, and we both had a lot of problems with his fear mongering.
Yeah,
as we often
I
do.
have to watch that. But isn't that video?
Yeah,
that
you should check it out.
Is a critique of a video of somebody else that talked to him? Isn't that right?
Yeah, they were talking about like some CRT, well, quote unquote CRT group that he was talking to.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, some of these, you can always find anybody with wacky opinions.
Yeah, for sure.
There's like, it's like the opinions are, I think what me and Andrew were just basically saying is like, there's so many different opinions within CRT, then it's dumb to kind of say CRT is this one thing.
Yeah. And especially like critical race theory is also critical theory and Marxism and postmodernism, even though those are different things.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you swapped this and it's Marxism. Oh yeah, you know that thing called the theory of evolution, thing about power struggles between animals looking for the fit of survival. Is that Marxism too? Like, come on, guys. I could take any type of struggle and then switch something out and call it Marxism. Like, is history the struggle between nations and how those form? Is that Marxism too? It's like, come on, guys. The only reason that you're bringing Marxism is because American culture has this demonization of Marxism. I'm not saying Marxism is good. I'm also not saying Marxism is bad. I'm just saying that in our culture here, it's just, if you don't have a good argument, you say the thing is like Marxism.
Yeah,
so you don't have to argue about it anymore.
That's one thing I was talking about on my last episode with Ben Burgess too, because he considers himself like really sympathetic to Marx, and that's one thing I've been learning about in actually reading more of Marx and some classical Marxists and other types, that there's a lot of disagreement between different types of Marxists too, and whenever people like demonize Marxism, they tend to pretend that all of Marxism is like Stalinist communist Russia or Maoist China, whereas there are a lot of Marxists who are extremely fucking critical of Stalin and Mao, which again doesn't mean Marxism itself is generally a good idea, but there are a lot of distinctions between them.
Yeah.
But
So check that out too, you guys. Check out his talk with Ben Burgess.
Yeah, check that out too. That was fun. People were mad about that too. So
there's someone spamming your chat with like quotes and shit, like anti-communist quotes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, it was funny. Anyway, check that out too. And check out our chat next week on Squid Game. And thanks again, everyone, and adios until next time.